Welcome to Campaign Unpack. It's James here. I'm the DM of the Every Tenday campaign. What's up? How you doing? Welcome. Thanks for joining me. In this new series, I'm going to be really going into the campaign journal, and we're going to be talking about the decisions that were made in the first episode of our second campaign. Some of the stakes that were involved, some of the rules that I chose. We're going to really kind of deconstruct and unpack what happened inside episode 1, campaign 2 of the Every Tenday campaign, featuring my kids as the two principal players. Now, this is designed for you if you're a DM, whether you're just starting out, whether you're an experienced dungeon master. I'd love to hear from you. And it will make better sense watching this if you've gone through episode 1 of campaign 2, which you can catch that here on our channel. But don't worry, if you haven't watched that episode yet and you don't know what I'm talking to, what I'm making reference to, that's okay. You can still get a ton from this video, from this unpack, as I sort of share with you as a dungeon master the decisions I'm making real time, the kind of things that came up that I wasn't expecting, the things that came up that I was anticipating, and much, much more. So let's get into it. Firstly, we've got episode 2 coming up this coming weekend. So I'm recording this around about a week and a bit after, like about 9 or 10 days after we actually went live with our first episode. And it's really hard coming out of a campaign that had 144 episodes. Campaign 1 had 144 episodes. We got so into our characters. I got so into the NPCs. It's hard not to attach. Now, we took a couple of months off between campaigns, and I think that was important, just to detach somewhat from the drama, from the intrigue, from the storyline, from the melancholy, from the catharsis of wrapping up a campaign that spanned over 3.5 years. So that was a big deal. Coming into campaign 2, I was nervous. I got to be honest with you. I was super, super nervous about how this would go, because I've become attached to the old characters from campaign 1, right? Like, I really care about these characters, and I care about what my kids have built with them. And so I was nervous coming into this because I think I put a lot, or I expected a lot, from episode 1. And so you might find this as a dungeon master, there's high expectations for episode 1. And yet, ironically, a lot of what's going on in episode 1 is just the setup, right? It's like the prologue. And so I had to kind of calm down somewhat. And so the first thing I want to unpack is like the emotion of starting a brand new campaign of D&D. The emotion was the thing that I found quite difficult to handle to begin with. I've just got some notes here I'm going to share with you as I run through this. The emotional aspect of starting a brand new D&D campaign, especially after one, like I said, 144 episodes with campaign 1, my emotion was high. I was like, man, this has got to be good. And so I felt going into episode 1 of campaign 2 that there was a lot riding on it. God, I've got to get so much right, and all those kind of things. And I think to a degree that is true. I don't think it's devastating if you screw up episode 1 or session 1 of your campaign. I don't think it's devastating, but I do think that possibly there is quite a lot riding on it, because a lot of your players' expectations, whoever you're playing with, are going to be set in that first few hours of play, right? Like, a lot is going to be set and established in those first few hours of play. So I was quite, I was on high alert. I was nervous. I did want to get it right. And here's what I think we did get right. The intro. So look, Charlotte and Finley, my kids, they rolled up some quite different characters, right? We've got a human reborn warlock, and we've got an Eladrin fighter, soon to be gunslinger if she lives that long, right? And I wanted how these two people came to be, how these two individuals met and came to be better than they meet in a tavern. Right. I was keen. I didn't want to just be like, oh, you check the the local quests notice board, and you see somebody looking seemingly lonely and in need of a friend on the other side of the tavern. I didn't want to start that way. Ironically, that's how we started campaign 1. That we didn't actually stream at that stage, but the first few episodes of campaign 1, my kids were a lot littler. Finley was 10 years old. Charlotte was 13 at the time. And we did start, but we started pretty much in a tavern. Like, they meet there and go, "Hey, do you want to go do this together?" And I didn't want to repeat that. So I had to go, well, what kind of tone am I creating here? And I wanted to create a slightly more gritty, a little bit more of a gritty tone. They're older now. My kids, Finley's 14, Charlotte's 17. And we decided in session 0, which you can again catch on our channel. You can't see a lot of session 0s when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons online, because a lot of people don't stream that stuff. We streamed our campaign, our session 0, excuse me. And in there, we agreed we were going to raise the kind of the rating of this game. I think of it like a film ratings. So we went from a PG to a sort of we've moved up to sort of an R rating, or here in the UK we call it, like, we've gone up to a 12 from a PG, a 12 adult. And I wanted to establish that tone, and I felt like we would go for a hard start where there is some mysterious action taking place. I really liked the start. And I was pleased that after the session, Finley said to me, that was cool. Like, that was a really cool start. Because Reborn, when Finley chose his Reborn background, and he's human species, but he wanted to be a Reborn. And he was like, I've just come out of a hole. I've just dug myself out of a grave, and I don't know anything. I don't have much in the way of memories. That's always a hard one, right? Starting a character without any personality foundations that are expressed through memories and stuff like that is going to be tricky. And so I was nervous about that as well. So I thought, well, let's revisit when he wasn't reborn, when he was alive. And let's do this kind of, let's have this snapshot of a great warrior, cleaving through foes. And I was very much reminded of the Elric novels by Michael Moorcock, and I read those books growing up when I was young, and they captivated me. I loved them, and I love this image in Stormbringer of Elric amongst the seething masses of chaotic demons, just plowing his way through, and that always stuck with me, that image. And I was like, let's start with that. Let's start with that. So I established this sort of sense of this mighty warrior who, spoiler alert, quickly is felled by an even more powerful entity. And that was the starting point. And I had Finley roll a few dice in this kind of cut scene, right? I had him roll a few dice from this cut scene of him. We don't know how long ago, but we get the idea pretty early on. This is a long time ago that this is happening. And I had him roll a few dice with massive modifiers straight from the outset. Because, right, when you start playing D&D, you start playing with like tiny modifiers, a +2, +3, +4, +5 if you're lucky. Little modifiers to your rolls. So you get the sense early on when you start a new campaign that you are weak, right? Or at least you're not powerful yet. And so we started with Finley's character sometime long ago, we imagine, and I said, roll a D20 and add like a 12 to it. He was like, what the hell? What is going on? And that lasts only a little amount of time. And I wanted there to be so many things unanswered, right? Because I want to start, what I want to do early on in the campaign, what you probably want to do is seed the campaign, seed it. You're spreading seeds. And I wanted to do that rather than just railroad them, like, the blacksmith's daughter's been taken, so you've got to go and, here's the quest, get started. Instead, I wanted to start that. That's very much how I started campaign 1. Campaign 2, I started differently. I started it with just seeds. I sowed so many seeds, and I'm excited to see which ones and where the players go with these. Like which of these seeds that I sowed. And that became my main aim in this first session that I'm unpacking here for you, is like, I want to sow seeds. Which seeds my players cultivate and grow and go after, well, we'll see. We'll see. But so even in that first intro, it sows some seeds for Finley's character. Yeah, I know he wasn't expecting it either. So he was like, that was cool. And he said that to me. He was like, that was really cool. Like, I wasn't expecting that. That was shocking. And that was a good start. And I was like, thanks. And that's how you know, right? Like, if as Matt Colville often says, like, if your players are having fun and you're having fun, like that's D&D, right? It's like, are you having fun? And I felt like they were entertained and intrigued by that. And then we cut away to Charlotte's character, her Eladrin fighter, wondering. She's again, with both of these, it was very much more cinematic. I started more cinematically than I might ordinarily. Like, you find yourself down at the bloody scythe, and up on the wall there's a notice saying reward for. I didn't want to do that, so I started more cinematically. And with Charlotte's character, she's on her way somewhere, and she's in a different mood than she ordinarily is because something's troubling her. Bam! So we meet her, and she's in the middle of this crisis because her wife is sick, and it's something that nobody seems to be able to help with, right? So there's something bad's happening, and so we join her on this kind of journey that is, she's not making out of inspiration or choice, she's making out of desperation. So she's going somewhere, she's headed somewhere. And that I felt went really well, because she wanders into a mist and gets lost and finds herself on the prime material plane from the Feywild. And I really liked that. And that was where I got the chance as the DM to breathe, take a moment, and start to just paint the canvas. And I think sometimes you got to do that. You just got to paint the canvas for them so that they understand the world they're coming into. So she came from the Feywild with vivid colors and gargantuan mushrooms and all these kind of things. And it was great to set the scene by having her transition from the Feywild into the prime material plane, and what is a particularly bleak area of the continent of Aeon, which is where we're setting this campaign. And just describing this, where I got to calm down in the game and go, okay, you're through the first 5-10 minutes. You pulled off Finley's intro, fine. And I'd invite you to go watch that, because it's basically, we started the campaign with the death of a character. Within the first less than 10 minutes, a character dies. That doesn't normally happen in Dungeons and Dragons, right? You normally start a game and you're like, great, my character's here. He or she or they are alive and hopefully going to be with us for a while. We didn't do that. I instead went, let's start with death. Let's start with a character dying. And that was, I think that got everybody's attention. And I think after I pulled that off, I think it's like, okay, we're in now, And so then it was like, okay, cutscene. Let's go join Charlotte's character as she's on this journey for her wife. And it got me a chance to paint the canvas. Where is this? Where are we? What's the setting? And so I could talk about the colors, the smells, the bleakness, the starkness of the light. I could talk about the marshland, the wetness of it, the uncomfortableness of it, the coldness, the bleakness, the rain. And so I spent a lot of time really talking about the topography and the weather and what that was like to set the scene. Then we cut again, right? We cut scene again. So she's lost. We cut scene again back to Finley's character crawling himself out of a shallow grave. intro Finley's character and how the two of them came together. And obviously the big decision I had to make was, how do I bring them together? And I decided early on that having just finished The Walking Dead with my wife, we just finished watching The Walking Dead. I'm hella into zombies at the moment. So I was like, zombies, we're going to do a zombie. We're going to do Walking Dead. We're going to do Walking Dead. And I just figured, what better way for the two of them to meet than for them to meet right within a zombie horde, marching slowly in a singular direction. And that's how somehow they meet in that. And I thought, well, this is wonderful. Finley's coming out of a grave, this fresh grave. He doesn't know anything, right? Like his mind is pretty much blank. He knows his name, and he's got a few base ideas around him, but he's just crawled out of a shallow grave. The rain has washed the mud away, and like, here he is. And around him, he suddenly becomes aware of these figures marching, and he's like, who are these folks? Oh shit, they're zombies. And so he starts sort of like walking with them, again, massively influenced by Walking Dead here. And so what I thought is, well, what if Charlotte's character stumbles into that zombie horde? Like I said, massive influence, just finished The Walking Dead. And I was like, man, I want a zombie horde. And so I was like, what if one of them is just themselves, one of the characters is crawling out of a shallow grave, another character stumbles into this zombie horde, and maybe there's a little bit of mistaken identity to begin with. I didn't know how that might go down, whether it might be a little bit like all the Marvel superheroes. They always fight first. They fight each other first before they fight evil, I was like, maybe they'll fight first. They'll fight each other first before. That didn't go down, but I was prepared for that. I was like, they might fight when they first meet each other, because Charlotte, quite rightly, might go, oh, Finley's a zombie. This character's a zombie. That didn't happen. It didn't go down that way. But either way, they kind of helped each other out in the zombie, which was really just, how do you create an environment that forces them together? Charlotte's character is exhausted. She's been marching for like a week non-stop. She hasn't stopped. She hasn't been able to rest. Every time she tries to rest, something wakes her, and she's exhausted. She's lost. Finley's character has literally just crawled out of a shallow grave. How do I get them not just to come together, but to stay together? And I was like, circumstance will demand it, right? And that's a question you've got to ask, I think, sometimes. It's like, okay, I know how to bring my players together. How do I get them to stay together? And the simple answer to that is they need to stay together. Orchestrate it so that they need to stay together. So I was like, okay, right. Well, the way we're going to do that then is, if they meet in a zombie horde, to get through this without certain death, they're going to need to work together and stay together for an extended period of time. And they did. And through much walking and one collapse and, all this kind of thing, they help each other out and they stay together, over a full night. And then they're like, all right, there's nothing like one player saving another player's life, basically, and helping out big time to bring two people together, right? Intense circumstances. And so that worked really well. I was very, very pleased with that. And once they'd gotten through the zombie horde bit, I really relaxed. So that was when I was like, okay, we're good. And then it was very simple. It was, you see smoke on the horizon. And if you're ever in doubt, if you kind of want to steer your characters towards resources and resourcefulness, which I did, I didn't want them to just perish out in the wilderness. There was a high survival check from Finley's character, some moderate perception checks. That was enough for me to say, smoke on the horizon. And if you say that, I mean, this is how games do it, right? Like, so video games will often, I've played Skyrim for thousands of hours, and it's like, when you first play Skyrim, you don't really know where you're supposed to go. But the designers are really subtle with how they do things. So one area of an underground cave will be slightly better lit than others. And so you kind of know, just go towards the light, and you start to find your way even when there aren't signposts going this way be treasure, this way be an exit. And so game designers know this, and they use topography, they use design and light and shade really well, so that even if you don't know where to go, usually your unconscious goes, there's light over there, that bit is slightly better lit, so I'm going to go in that direction. So the way I did that in, after the zombie horde, and when they got across the bridge, was just like high survival rolls, pretty high perception rolls, and I was like, smoke on the horizon. And that was easy. That wasn't so much railroading as like, that was the way I had designed the topography that they found themselves in. So it was no surprise. They were like, we head towards smoke. Great. Okay, right. We're up and running now. We're up and running. So together they've made this decision to go, let's go over there. Right. And remember, episode 1, campaign 2, all I want to do is sow seeds, as opposed to the first campaign when my kids were much younger. Finley was 10, Charlotte was 13, where I railroaded them a little bit, right? It was kind of like, there's a sign on the notice board in the tavern. You might want to do that with younger players or less experienced players, right? You kind of sometimes have to be like, hi, here be quest. In this campaign, and with now much more mature players, what I thought was like, I've got to just sow seeds. I just got to show them there are a ton of things that if they want to, they can explore, or none of those things. So straight off the bat, Finley's mysterious intro where he dies, right? Spoiler alert. And followed by zombies. Why is there a horde of zombies? Right? Why is there a horde of zombies? Followed by Charlotte's lost. How the hell did I arrive in another dimension from the Feywild to the Prime Material? How do I get here? That's another. These are seeds. I'm just tossing out seeds in episode 1. And then they get to they arrive at this town. And the only thing that if I really on reflection of episode 1, the one thing I would do differently is they meet a bard when they finally arrive at this town. They head for the local inn, obviously, get some rest, get some food, et cetera, et cetera. Just regroup. And they met a bard in the tavern called Twig, who I like. I think is it's quite a well-developed NPC. But they became tour guide. So I made them tour guide a little bit. Twig was maybe just a little bit too helpful and kind of answered all the questions of where are we? What is this place? What's going on here? And I had Twig answer a lot of that without them having to really do anything. If I could do anything a bit better from or maybe a lot better to unpack from episode 1, I would probably do that a little more subtly. I wouldn't just have Twig be like, hi, you're in the town of so-and-so. Here's the... I stopped short of basically unpacking the local politics. I didn't really go there. But I did kind of even have her draw a map for them, which is just over there. Like, she drew it. She drew a map. She was like, yeah, this is there, this is here. Oh, nearby we've got this, this, and this. Now, it was a little obvious, right? It was a little obvious. It was a little less obvious than like, you find a map just outside of town that somebody's dropped, So Twig, my NPC that I've got high hopes for, became a little bit of a tourist guide. So I would make that more subtle in future, or I'd make the players earn it. Like, if they want to get information, make them earn it. And they didn't earn it. They literally went and sat down at a table because there was room there and there wasn't room anywhere else. They said hi, and then that was it. Twig kind of just spilled her guts. Oh, wow, you look lost, blah, blah, blah. It was kind of clumsily done. And Twig even throwed a very blatant seed their way, which was like, oh, you say you saw zombies? You might want to go and report that to the local lord. You might even get a reward. But like, seriously, if you saw a whole lot of zombies, you might want to go and tell the lord in the manor up on the hill about that. Which was a bit like, it's a bit like when you arrive in Riverwood and it's like, a dragon, you say? You better go tell the Jarl, in Whiterun. And it's like, that's your reason to go to Whiterun. Um, Listen, I figured it worked for Bethesda Games and it worked for Skyrim. Maybe it'll work for us. And as it turned out, it did. The characters got their night's sleep, and then they were like, "Screw it, let's go. Let's go and see if we can get a reward for giving them a heads up about these zombies." And the players did. Um, they meet some of the nobles that rule over this town. And then Finley made a decision that was intriguing, because the nobles quite rightly went, "Look, have you got any proof about these zombies? Like, we're just taking your word from it, but like, you got any proof?" Finley, who's a reborn and has a skeletal arm, like a zombified arm. And he just went, "Here's proof." And he showed his arm. I wasn't expecting that. I really was not expecting that. I thought that they might go. I thought that they might go, "Okay, we'll go get you proof. So we'll go back there. We'll get one and we'll bring it back here." Game of Thrones style. I thought I'd do that. I thought they might just try and persuade them. Pretty high charisma, and I was like, maybe they'll just try and persuade them. To check it out. Finley literally showed his skeletal arm and went, "How's this for proof?" And I was like, what happens? It's a very funny part, I think, of the game, because the Lord was just like how I felt. I expressed my emotions through this Lord, which was like, "What's the matter with you? Are you okay?" And I had him get his guards, escort them like out of the room, like get them down to not a cell, but like a holding room. And it was like, that's where we ended the first session. So there was some unexpected for me as a DM. There was quite a lot of unexpected, actually, and along the lines, they learned a little bit about why this town even exists as well. Because my lore dump that came from our bard in the inn, which, let's be honest though, if you are going to do a lore dump, do it through a bard. Like maybe they do know what's going on. They do like to tell a little tale. They maybe do like to come up with new songs and stuff. So I was like, all right, come on, you'll forgive me. Maybe not in years to come, you won't forgive me. But I was like, all right, my tourist guide NPC also explained a little bit about what this town's all about. And this town attracts a lot of adventurers because this is like the last bastion of civilization before a place called Gormley. Gormley comes up in campaign 1. So I knew that my players knew what Gormley was. So I knew they knew it was a bad place. And when I was describing the topography and the geography, I made it very clear that that mountain range 20 miles to the south looks bad, looks dangerous, And again, it's seeds, right? It's seeds. Maybe they get more bold and they go, well, let's see what treasures could be had down there. Let's see what answers can be had down there. And that gives me something as a dungeon master to play with. Perhaps there's a source of information, right, that can be found or sought out in there. Perhaps something of high stakes to the players requires them to head south, to go into Gormley, that kind of thing. So a lot, like I said, if I could do something a bit more subtly again, if I could do it differently, I would make the bard not do such a lore drop, not be the tourist guide to answer all the questions of the players in one first encounter. I'd have made them earn that. That could have been done better. And I got a lovely surprise when Finley just got his arm out. His skeletal arm out when the Lord was like, "Oh, we need proof. Have you got any proof that there's zombies coming?" And Finley goes, "How's this for proof?" It was like, oh, okay, this is going to go where I didn't think it would go straight away. And so that was where we left off episode 1. I felt it had really good pace. I felt that it we covered some ground, because oftentimes it's like, look, if you do have to do a lore drop, you may as well try and get that out the way as early as possible, I say, right? And just, if you got to do it, you got to do it. I didn't really have to drop much in the way of lore, but there was some background as to where they are, because they're both lost. One of my players is lost physically and does not know where she is. The other one is lost in terms of he has no memories. That's not an easy start. I couldn't give them a one-page handout that says, you come from the town of so-and-so. Let me tell you a bit about this town. They had no knowledge. That's a tricky start, so I had to, number one, come up with a reason why they would care for each other and care to be with each other. That's the important thing. Why would they care to be with each other? So the zombie horde helped that happen. And then why would they stay together? I don't know whether we've answered that yet. Like, there's still not a compelling reason why they stay together yet, other than from Charlotte's perspective, you're the first person I've seen who's actually helped me and saved my life a couple of times since I got here. From Finley's perspective, from his character's perspective, why would he stay with her? I don't know. He's the only familiar. He's the first familiar thing he's seen, the first sentient being he's seen since he crawled out of a shallow grave. Maybe that's enough, right? Like, maybe that's enough reason. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes. And I thought, okay, that went well. Establishing the local town and the reason why, the main thing that this town trades in, like what is it about? We established it's really close to a border of a bad place, and it is set up to try and keep back evil forces that cross the river and head north. This town is here as almost like a battlement against that, So I think that went well. We set the scene with that. Where it goes now, the players have got so many seeds. I can't wait to see where it goes. We'll be picking up on session 2 with episode 2 this weekend. I'm really looking forward to seeing where that goes. Let me know what you think. Did you catch the first episode? Listen through to see what you think. I really enjoyed it. We hope you enjoy it. It's real, wholesome D&D. One of the things that one of our friends in our Discord said recently was, what's great is that your games aren't over-sexualized and they're not all just joking and messing around, as a lot of the streams are. Now, I can't say I don't want to judge other D&D streams, quite honestly, but I took pride in that, and I think that's the cool thing when you're playing with your kids. Obviously, it's not really appropriate to overly sexualize it at all. So what I think you'll get from our game is like our efforts to really connect as a family, and we do that through trying to tell a good story. And when you're trying to tell a good story, you got to start the story well, right? Oh, we just had a comment come through from one of our viewers. Thanks for commenting. I really like it when you do that. Hey, Chris, what's up? How are you? Chris says, I really enjoyed the first session. I'm looking forward to the episodes to come. Great DM work, sound effects, and I love the character interactions. Fantastic work. Keep up the good. Oh, thanks so much. Thank you. That means a lot. Thanks very much. Yeah. It was a tricky one. I got to be honest with you. I was freaking nervous going into it. Freaking nervous. So I had to fully let go of the first campaign. That was tricky enough, and be like, okay, there's a few Easter eggs in there from campaign 1, but not many. I didn't want to make it about campaign 1. It's like, let's make a fresh start, So I appreciate your comments. That means a lot. Yeah, it was the sound effect, like I've said in past streams that we've done here, especially in Talks 10 Day, we're going to be improving the audio and everything as we go, because that's what you'll probably do. There's plenty of streams out there that are professional in a studio with voice actors and all these kind of things. That's not what we are. It's not what we pretend to be. We're not we're not on the West Coast of America with millions of dollars to our name. So one of the things that we're committed to doing, we've added the graphics so you can watch, we've got a nice skin over our stream so that you can see the players and you can see their stats and their AC and hit points. And we hope you like that. Tell us what else you'd like to see in those graphics, and we'll maybe have a look at how we might be able to do that. We're going to be improving microphones. I definitely need a better mic. You could hear the kids really well, but the microphone was far enough away from me that it was a little clunky. We're going to improve the cameras, the positioning. We're going to have a battle cam, all of that. But we're going to do it as we go, because as you play D&D, you're building your world as you go. You're building your campaign as you go. You're building your resources and table as you go. And we figured, why would we pretend to be anything other than the reality for most of us, right? Which is you improve as you go. So you're going to see things improve as we get through here. We can only do that with your help. So please let us know what you'd like to see more of, what you'd like to see less of. I'm not saying we'll always do what you tell us to do or what you suggest, but we definitely want to hear it. and I'll definitely run it by the kids. And we play this game for us. This is the way we get close as a family. This is the way I get close to my kids, because I don't see them all the time. They don't live with me. So this game brings us together, and that's why we play it. And if you want to be a part of that and like join in on that, and then all power to you. Like, that's what we want. And we want this game to develop organically. We want what we do and what we build to build organically. And we want to attract more like-minded people who maybe don't want to just see friends playing this game, not just see friends. It's great to play it with friends. I've played it with friends a lot, but maybe you don't want to just see the game being played with friends who are, it's all sex talk or jokes or mucking about, right? I've done plenty of games like that, with my friends. But we want to focus on story, on character. And as a parent playing with my children, I want to try, without being too obvious about it, to maybe share with my children some ethos, some morals, some ideas, some ethics that I think, some lessons maybe that maybe can help them in their life, because they're just teenagers, and if I can, it's one thing being a parent and being like, hey kids, we need to sit down and talk about something. Today we're going to talk about narcissists and how they'll come into, listen, kids maybe don't listen to that stuff when it comes from their parents, but you can do it through gameplay, right? Like, you can do that stuff. And for me as a parent, that's the way I can reach my children way better than trying to sit them down and lecture them, So we're playing the game for that. And above all else, to have some fun together. That isn't just us looking at screens or watching films together, but making some eye contact and playing the game. If those things are important to you in playing Dungeons & Dragons, I think you'll really love our stream. So look, I'll see you on the next Unpack, which will come about a week after the next session gets published. So we're playing this weekend live, and then we'll post the kind of the polished version a few days later once I've put the graphic over it. And I can't wait to see you. Come join us live for the session at the weekend. Usually we go live at around about 12 o'clock, 12 noon UK time on Saturday, and then we publish the polished version. It's usually going to be on a Tuesday, again about noon UK time. We publish that we premiere the polished version. So check them out. Let us know what you think, and I'll see you on the next Unpack. Big love. Bye for now.